Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Monday morning to you. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. We are continuing our focus on Matthew chapter 25, 14, and following, where Jesus told the parable, what is known as the parable of the absent master. He gave talents, responsibilities, duties, blessings, etc. to his servants, and he said, occupy until I return. He went into a far country, and after a long time he returned. We are told by a futurist, well, since it says he didn't return for a long time, that's got to refer to 2,000 years. And of course, it's ironic that the very people who say that a long time refers to 2,000 years then turn right around, and in the language of the New Testament, behold, I come quickly, these things must shortly come to pass, we are told, oh, well, that could be 2,000 years. So a long time is 2,000 years, and at hand, quickly, soon, shortly, that could be 2,000 years. Sorry, that's ridiculous. Okay, so those who divide the Olivet Discourse focus on this parable, among some of the others, in trying to prove, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this has to refer to something other than the fall of Jerusalem and the Lord's coming in that event. I've been sharing with you a great deal of information, background, parallel information. And in the last two videos, I focused on something that I think is just absolutely critically important. And that is that Jesus was never promising to come back in a physical body as a Jewish man. He was going to manifest himself like the Father had manifested himself over and over and over again. Jesus was not going to be revealed in the body of his humiliation, i.e., a body of flesh and blood and bones, made a little lower than the angels. No. He was going to be revealed as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I have to tell you, years and years ago, as I was studying and pondering and struggling with my traditional eschatology, I read Matthew 16, 27 and 28, for the first time, even though I had preached from it a gazillion times. And you know how that happens. You read a passage and you think you have a grasp of it, but you continue study and research, and you get a better data bank of background information. And that's what happened with Matthew 16, 27 and 28. You see, in the amillennial world, it's common to say, okay, Matthew 16, 27, the Son of Man will come in the glory of the Father with his angels and shall reward every man according to his works. That's the end of time. Oh, but wait. Then, and verily I say unto you, there are some standing here which shall not taste of death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. Well, see, that's the day of Pentecost, in which Jesus, who had ascended back to the Father, sends the Holy Spirit in power. After all, Acts chapter 1, go into Jerusalem there and wait until you are endued with power from on high. Well, it doesn't say at all what I once believed. I had an artificial construct. But nonetheless, what I was doing was I was inserting a 2,000-year gap in the period at the end of verse 27, trying to justify my futurism. Well, I kind of picked up the Greek text one day, and I took a look at the little Greek term that begins verse 28. Amen, lego humin. And I thought, I need to investigate that little term. Here's what I found out. Amine lego humin is never used to change a subject. But you see, in the traditional construct in which I was raised, verse 27 discusses one thing, verse 28 discusses something radically different, totally unrelated. Therefore, that demands, grammatically, linguistically, may I say journalistically, that demands that amine lego humin is breaking a subject, changing a subject. I investigated every single time that the term amine lego humin, translated as verily I say unto you, or assuredly I say to you, over and over and over and over. And once again, it never, ever breaks the subject. So what does it mean? Well, it means, let me express it like this. Amine lego humin is always used to emphasize, to draw attention to what is about to be said, that emphasizes what has just been said. You catch the power of that? That means that verse 28 is emphasizing verse 27. That means that verse 28 is saying that Christ was going to come in the glory of the Father before all of that audience died. And by the way, according to Mark chapter 8, there was a huge audience present that day. I got to tell you, this was absolutely stunning to me. And I got to share a little anecdote here. I'll take the time to do this. Some years ago, as a controversy at the Maxwell Avenue Church of Christ, where I was preaching and I was trying to share covenant eschatology with the congregation, controversy had ensued naturally. And one day, I was sitting at my desk in the office, and there was an outer office where the secretary worked, and then there was the front door, the entrance into the offices. And I look up, and here comes one of the young women from the congregation, and listen, she was a fireball. She was one of these women that is full of energy, full of life, brilliant woman. Brilliant woman. Walks into my office, sits down in front of me and says, okay, I want to know what this is all about. And I thought, oh boy, she's gonna tie into me. I said, and what are you inquiring about? She said, I'm hearing all this controversy about what Don is teaching. And she said, I teach classes and I'm never in your class. I don't know what it is you're teaching. So I want you to tell me what it is you're teaching. Got everybody so upset. I took my Bible and I turned it to Matthew 16, 27 and 28. I handed it over to her and I said, I want you to read Matthew 16, 27 and 28. Okay? So she just started reading silently. I said, no. I want you to read it out loud. So she read it out loud and she looks up at me and she said, okay, what's your point? I said, I'm not making a point. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to tell me what verse 27 says that Jesus said he was going to do. And I want you to read verse 28 and tell me when he said he was going to do it. She started reading silently once again. I said, no. Read it out loud. Tell me what he said he was going to do and when he said he was going to do it. She read it. And then she kind of grinned. She goes, wait a minute. She read it again, out loud. And she goes, okay. I said, okay, what? And she goes, he said he was going to come back with the angels in judgment before all those people died. I said, that's all I'm saying. And she goes, okay, so what's the problem? That's what it says. I said, I called her name, but I said, the problem is, that's not what we have always taught in the churches of Christ. And she goes, so? What we've always taught doesn't make any difference. What does the Bible say? And she said, I never saw it until now, but that's what it says. And she's right. And I tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, there have been multitudinous efforts. People try to say, oh, well, this passage was fulfilled in the Transfiguration 7 days later. No, it wasn't, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus did not come in judgment of all men 7 days later. And by the way, the Transfiguration, according to Matthew 17:10 and following, was a vision. Doesn't mean it wasn't real, okay? But Jesus did not tell his apostles, there are some standing here which shall not taste of death until they see a vision of my coming in the glory of the Father. There are some standing here which shall not taste of death until they see the Son of Man coming in his kingdom. And by the way, in Mark chapter 9, verse 1 and 2, verily I say unto you, there's that little Greek term, and the antecedent is the last verse of Mark chapter 8, verse 38, him coming in glory, in power, and in judgment. So in Mark 9, verse 1, there are some standing here which shall not taste of death. Now notice this, until they have seen that the kingdom of heaven had come with power and great glory. Had come. The kingdom. Well, unless you're willing to argue that the kingdom came at the Transfiguration, guess what? Then the Transfiguration didn't fulfill the vision. But I must hasten. Here's the point. Acts chapter 1 is the, quote, second coming. Right? Everyone admits that. But Acts chapter 1 is the coming of the Lord in the glory of the Father. Not only that, in John 5, 21 and following, Jesus said, from henceforth the Father judges no one, but has committed all judgment to the Son, watch this, that all men might honor the Son as the same way they honor the Father. The Son can do nothing of himself, but what he sees the Father do. Now let me ask you a question. How had Jesus seen the Father act in judgment? Well, I tell you what, he had never seen the Father act in judgment by coming out of heaven as a Jewish man. He had never seen the Father come out of heaven and destroy literal, physical heaven and earth. Had he? No. But the point of it is, as I emphasized over the last two videos, last Wednesday and Thursday, Jesus was going to come in the glory of the Father. He was going to come. And by the way, at the very beginning of this book, I document, scholars recognize this. They recognize that Jesus was saying he was going to come in the same way, in the same manner the Father had come. And that effectively puts an end to the argument that Jesus was saying he was going to come out of heaven, as a 5'5" Jewish man. Listen, don't forget, the November 2021 U.S. orders only 3-book special, fantastic savings, Like Father, Like Son. I document thoroughly, extensively, comprehensively what Jesus meant and what he meant when he said, the Father has committed all judgment to the Son. And the Son's going to judge like He's seen the Father judge. Once we understand that, we can understand Acts chapter 1. So, like Father, like Son, the elements shall melt with fervent heat, and Dan Derry's book, The Meaning Behind the Manner. If you purchase these books separately, paid separate shipping, cost you well over $60. November 2021, U.S. orders only, $39.95, delivered to your door. Go to my website, donkpreston.com, BibleProphecy.com. There's a tab right up at the very top. Just click on it. Order the books. You'll be glad you did. We got more. I'll see you on the flip side.